So in Genesis chapter 2, verses 8 and 9, we actually see where God has created a garden in Eden. And in the midst of the garden, there's two very special trees that are talked about. One is the tree of life, and one is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So that tree, when you eat from it, you learn to tell good from evil. The other tree, if you ate from it, you could live forever. Now, given that choice, it's easy for us to sit back and say, well, I would rather live forever than to know good from evil, to know right from wrong. But if we look at our day-to-day lives, that's not the case. When we're given a choice between living right and knowing right, many of us are prone to wanting to know right and not live right. We would rather read about a thing and learn about a thing than live and do a thing. And that's one of the things that makes it a challenge. We would rather eat from a tree that will give us knowledge than a tree that would give us life. If we take a deeper dive into what happened in the garden in Genesis chapter 3, the question for all of us boils down to how we view God. Do we see him as the supreme lawmaker, or do we see him as the supreme law follower? See, if God is a supreme lawmaker, he's the supreme being, and we can never be equal to him. Whereas if he's just the most masterful follower of the law who happens to tell us what the rules are, well, then we can quest to be just like him. If we can know what he knows, then we can be equal to him. And this is where our pride kicks in. This is where the struggle really happens, because the idea of us being able to be equal to whatever and whoever's on the top of the food chain, that is appealing to people. The problem is, that is not where we belong. We are flawed beings. We choose wrong frequently. We get caught up in our emotions to the point that we will do terrible things just because of how we feel, even if we knew what was right and wrong. So we want to make sure that when we are trying to decide between the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, let's choose life.